are some intangibles that those projections failed to take into consideration.
The crowd was going crazy. There's not much in life that's better than that.
You're listening to Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys on the 95.7 The Game Podcast Network.
Hello there. Welcome to this special episode of the Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys podcast. This is episode 56, and did you know that the 1956 New York Giants third baseman collectively hit .221 with only 15 home runs? Perhaps that team could have used some help from our guest today, current San Francisco Giants third baseman J.D. Davis. The Giants acquired Davis at last year's trade deadline along with Carson Seymour, Nick Zwock, and Thomas Szapucki, sending Darren Ruff to the New York Mets, what is quickly becoming one of Farhan Zaidi's best trades. After hitting .263 with 8 home runs and 14 RBIs in 49 games for the Giants last year, Davis is having a bit of a breakthrough this season so far in 2023. He is hitting .288 as of this posting, and his 8 home runs and 25 RBIs have him already surpassing what he did with the Orange and Black last year. In this episode, I talk with JD about how he has improved at the plate and on the field, and how he spends his time off the field. And do not forget to like and subscribe to the Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys podcast. You got to like it, review it, share it, tell everybody to listen to it, because Davis will not be the last Giants player we talk to on the pod this season. All right, we got J.D. Davis joining us on the Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys podcast. We're here on the field at Oracle Park on this lovely Friday. And J.D., you've gotten off to quite a start this season, and you've inspired a lot of fun nicknames. I've seen Just Dingers for all your home runs. I've seen Just Defense for what you've been doing on the field. So I want to start, is there, outside of those nicknames, is there a nickname you've ever gone by that you've always kind of enjoyed?
I'll say one that I've had since high school. It'd either be J Dizzle or J Diesel. Diesel used to be a big old dude, or I used to be like 240, 245, so kind of a diesel truck. So a lot of guys from high school used to call me Diesel, and then little J Dizzle as well.
Yeah, so I know you grew up in the Sacramento area. You went to Elk Grove High School. Last year when you came back here, you got traded back here from the Mets, what was that like for you being able to come back to Northern California, come back home? What was that like for you?
I mean, it was a dream come true in itself. In past interviews that I've said, it's you can't beat home, and just the fact that your parents are an hour and a half away, your friends and family hour and a half away. Oracle Park was a place that I always came to as a kid to watch games, and I mean just to visit. I mean vacation-wise, San Francisco, Northern California coast, and then just being a California kid, born and raised, just to come back home and be back in your home state is just a dream come true and play for them.
Like I mentioned, you've been really dialed in at the plate so far this year, hitting .290. You're approaching the numbers already this year that you were putting up last year. What's been different for you at the plate this year? Where do you feel like you're most improved at the plate this year?
One thing that we worked on this last offseason is really trying to get to a consistent launch angle or consistent power position. Due to my hand, I would say, how do I phrase this? There's the heart of the plate, and then there's the shadows of the plate. And the shadows of the plate are the very edges of the strike zone. The heart of the strike zone I was dominating, but the shadows are around the strike zone that was still in the strike zone I was very lacking, and I would swing and miss at a lot or foul off a lot instead of putting balls in play. This time around, with what I've been working on in the offseason of just getting to that launch position or getting to that power position before the pitcher releases the ball, has really helped me be adaptable into my swing and not necessarily be 100% swing, but be an 80 to 85 and just put the ball in play instead of going up there and trying to hit it 108, 110 miles per hour every single time. It's good to, sit there and be consistent at 95 to 100 and still be able to square balls up and drive balls.
Yeah, it's kind of continuing on that. Where there's like certain drills or stuff that the coaching staff would have you work on the off season or in spring training. What can you kind of say about what that kind of work looked like?
Yeah, drills, I would say, like when we're working on the timing of it, we really want to, instead of just flips of just routinely of just flipping to me in the cage or throwing me BP, we had a pretty, emphasis on just starting early, and that's me starting my load early before the pitcher or the coach would start winding his arm back, and that would just help me get ready, loaded earlier, and just be able to see the ball at a sooner pace or a quicker pace. So there's anything flawed with my mechanics or my swing or my path or anything like that. I already have a really good path. It was just a matter of trying to be consistent to the baseball, because a lot of my deficiencies or a lot of the, say, mechanics would fall apart when I would be late, and I would try to overcompensate, and my front shoulder would open, and thus facto mechanics would start to kind of fall apart. So if we're getting to that position early and often, then good things are happening.
We got JD Davis joining us here on the Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys podcast. Was there a moment where we're all just like, oh, okay, now it's starting to click, now it's starting to come together? When was that moment? What's that moment like for you as a ball player?
There's a point in spring training, about midway, halfway through, just something where just calming down and not really exerting or trying to live up to self-expectations, just going out there and having fun, doing what I can do, and honestly just having fun. I think that's the biggest thing. We all get wrapped up in performances or comparing ourselves to other players, and so just going out there and playing and doing my role and doing what's best for the team and just going out there and having a level head, that's what honestly has become more successful to me.
Let's talk about the other side of the ball. Talk about defense, where you're putting up your defensive metrics are better than that of Nolan Arenado, Manny Machado, Matt Chapman. These are Gold Glovers, and you're putting up better numbers than them. What's been different on defense for you this year? How were you able to kind of really pick it up to the way you've been able to this year?
Yeah, I would say just the reps and the pace of play. Reps-wise, just getting everyday playing, or just sticking to the dirt necessarily instead of being 50-50 of getting reps out in the outfield, getting reps in the infield like I was in New York, and now over here they strictly had me concentrate on just being in the dirt if it's first or third, and just having the ability to fail, be vulnerable, and just kind of grow as a baseball player. And that's part of it, kind of going into what I'm saying too, is about having the reps and then the speed of play. And so as you go up every level from high A, double A, triple A, big leagues, it's always going to be quicker, and it's always going to, the pace of play balls are going to be put in play harder, guys are going to be running down the bases harder, and so kind of going with that, I never really got a chance to consistently read swings at third base, consistently, how would I say it, just get reps. I think that was the biggest thing, and I've always been, vocal about that. And, I had, a Gold Glover, Todd Frazier, in front of me when I was over there, and then 2020, it was such a crazy year, and then 2021 I tore my ligament in my hand, so I was off the field for about 2.5 months, and then when I came back, it was still, it was my catching hand, so it wasn't the greatest feeling catching balls in there, and then obviously controlling the barrel of the bat with the torn ligament in my hand. So I think a lot of it has to do with just being healthy and just going out here and then playing ball and having a level head and just having fun.
Do you use the little red machine at all for doing ground balls? Does that help too? I've seen, Crawford, I've seen doing it a lot. Tommy Listello brought that in here a couple years ago. You use that a lot at all, or what other kind of, drills and stuff are you doing to kind of really hone your defensive abilities?
It's not really anything special drills. It's just, crossing the T's, dotting the I's. But yeah, I use the red machine. I like doing it just because we use lighter baseballs. They may look like regular baseballs, but they're actually probably a third of the size or a third of the weight. And so it kind of helps us relax our hands, and just it's harder to catch in that sense. So we have to slow the game down or slow the drill down to really concentrate on those little things. And just kind of the same thing where you go from a cage to the batting practice in a sense. We're coming out here and doing the little things over off to the side before we take ground balls. So yeah. You
get the luxury of playing alongside probably one of the best defensive shortstops in this organization's history, and Brandon Crawford. Do you ever pick his brain at all for tips and or things to do on the infield? Is there anything that he's said or shared with you that you can share with us? What's it like being able to kind of go to a guy like that and ask him for advice on defense?
His accolades speak for themselves. He's one of the best defenders in this organization and one of the best shortstops to play over this past, heck, you can just say a quarter of a century, and it's pretty impressive to watch with him. I worked with him this last offseason down in Papago, down in Arizona, to the spring training facility. Nothing really I threw out on him, but he was very vocal on whenever I made mistakes and just being like, oh, you did this instead of do this in replace of it. Us baseball players, we get to this level, I think a lot of people forget that we still need coaching. We still haven't figured it all out. The game of baseball surprises everybody, but the difference between, a big leaguer, AAA or AA is his aptitude and his ability to make adjustments at a quicker pace. So I think that's one of the bigger things, and just hearing some feedback and some coaching ability from Craw and Kai has just been tremendous for me, and just kind of get to me the next level.
Talking to JD Davis here on the Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys podcast.
So you guys got off to a little bit of a rough start in April. When teams getting off to a rough start, how do you kind of keep the mood upbeat in the clubhouse when things are struggling out the gate like that?
Yeah, I mean, you just say it's just baseball. A lot of people, I know a lot of people have turned into basketball and football fans in which, a high pace, guys get days off. I mean, heck, I remember reading an interview about the Boston Celtics coach. Out of an 80-game season, they have 130 days, so they have 50 days off. It'd be nice for baseball to have that. Out of 162 games, we have 180 days, so we only get 18 days off out of 6 months. So it is a bit of a grind, and us baseball players that have been through the season after season, you just kind of shrug it off. You take a little bit of salt, or you take a grain of salt, and you kind of accept it. Take accountability, but at the end of the day, you don't get down on yourself, because at the end of it, you're still showing up for tomorrow, and you're still showing up the next day. You're still showing up the day following after that. So it's a grind, and it's 6 months of working. It's 6 months of success, failure, and roller coaster rides. So one thing that we do is just try to stay together, not get down on ourselves, just learn from it. A lot of people in this game, that's the difference between I think any other sport. Baseball is just a game of failure. You succeed 30% of the time, you're in the Hall of Fame compared to any basketball or football player. So it's just part of it, and you're going to run into good teams, you're going to run into bad teams, you're going to run into good games and bad games. So it is what it is. I mean, heck, we lost 3 out of 4 against the Nationals. Then next week, the following week, we sweep the Phillies. So, and then, I mean, they're both great teams, and it's just part of it. It's part of the roller coaster of a season. So what we do is just try to stay together and stay mentally strong and take as many punches as we can.
Coming into this month, seems like you weathered through the punches. You guys are playing a little bit better this month. You're 9-7 on this month. I'm noticing there's less striking out, less guys being left on base. What are you kind of noticing this month in terms of just kind of how you guys have improved overall as a team versus last month?
Just the flow, I would say. I mean, a lot of the first month is getting the jitters out. We had like 3 or 4 opening days in which accumulated over the course of 2.5 weeks, and that's half the season, or half the first month of the season. So, and then on top of that, going to New York, going to Detroit, going to Chicago, going to where else did we go to? I mean, we went to.
You've been to Miami.
I mean, Miami was warm, but we've been to some cold places. I mean, even here too, at night it gets cold. So part of it, a lot of baseball players, including myself, will heat up a little bit more when the season gets, the summer comes around. So we're playing well. I don't want to make it seem like we're, doing great or doing bad, but we're trying to stay even keel and know that it's just in the middle of May, and you got to take our punches and just score some runs and keep grinding. That's all we can do.
You mentioned New York. What was that like opening up at Yankee Stadium, which, again, this is the first year of, kind of year-round interleague for everyone. You got the balanced schedule. So, yeah, you got to toe the line at Yankee Stadium on the first day of the year. What was that like?
Yeah, it was really cool. Any player, any Little League kid looking at a baseball or wanting to become a baseball player, to have an opening day in New York Stadium is, a dream come true, or just on the bucket list in itself. It's the mecca of the media world, and, it's the New York Yankees, 27-time World Series champs. So pretty fun. The place was buzzing. Fans were great. The atmosphere was electric, and it was just a great time.
We had Casey Schmitt show up last week. A lot of fans been really waiting for him to appear. What's been kind of your first impressions of just kind of what you've seen from Schmitt, both at the plate and in the field?
I would say he's not intimidated. That's for one thing, sure. He goes out there, he's a little bulldog, plays hard on both sides of the field. Obviously, you guys know that he's such a Gold Glove. He's such a blessed defender, but his bat, is just as good, and he's able to spray the ball all over the field, hit with power, hit for average. And so far, he's been a great guy in the clubhouse. He fits our criteria, our personality, and just our energy in the clubhouse, and we're happy to have him.
All right, so let's kind of get into some more fun questions. Have you gotten into the bumper pool yet in the clubhouse?
No, I haven't played a single game.
Who's been the best so far? Have you noticed? Or I noticed you also got some putting in there. You got a chessboard. You getting into any of that too?
Well, I'll say this. I learned this the other day. Cobber is the one that actually bought it, and he's the one that actually owns it at home. So he was actually, hustling a bunch of people's money, and probably he's the best one in there, and so I think he's
weird how that works out.
Yeah, I know, right? A little vet move for him, but I don't know. He's probably like 110 right now out of like 110 games. He's crushing it. Putting wise, I'm in there every once in a while, but I just do it just to.
How is your short game?
It's not good. I'm more of the driver. I just let it eat and let it fly. In my short game, I really need to work on that.
Are you a golfer?
Not really. I just like going out there and having fun with the boys.
Yeah, there you go. That's most guys. So yesterday you had a rare home off day. You don't get those very often. What does J.D. Davis like to do when he has a home off day?
To be honest with you, probably stay at home, be parallel to the ground, eat some food, and just hydrate. Went through a good little stretch right there, 9 straight games, and I can't really remember if it was 12 out of the last 13 or something like that. But I walked around, I did a little errand as well. That was pretty much it, man. I for the most part, I stayed low, stayed in my apartment, and just rested up.
What about in the off season when everyone goes their separate ways? Where do you kind of retreat to, and what are the things that you do to kind of keep yourself entertained in the off season?
Well, just travel with my girlfriend. We went this last season to St. Lucia. That was awesome. This next one, we're going to go to the Maldives. I got the travel bug a little bit. I want to see some things, check off some things off the bucket list. But otherwise, I'm going back Nashville, Tennessee this off season, and man, just enjoy the off season. It's been a little bit of a grind over the last 2-3 years, and just to kind of have a home and have some roots and just kind of settle down and just enjoy the offseason, really. I'm not much of a guy that does anything crazy.
This is Sam Lubman talking with JD Davis here on the Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys podcast. Yeah, I know. When you kind of are at home, are you kind of more of a book guy? Are you a movie guy, a TV show guy? What do you kind of unwind with when you just need to kind of take a load off?
I'm a big cooker and I'm a big barbecue guy. I love cooking steaks, love cooking wings. I'm a sports guy. I'm always going to have a basketball game, a football game, or heck, crossing my fingers. Fortunately, if we can make the playoffs, but in the past, watching playoff baseball as well during October. But for the most part, movie guy, big movie guy. I haven't really gotten back into video games in the last couple of years.
What are your favorite kind of movies?
Kind of a nerd. My dad rubbed off on me. Love all the Star Wars, love Lord of the Rings.
What do you think of this most recent season of The Mandalorian?
To be honest with you, I haven't even seen it. I haven't even got any of the Disney Plus stuff. I'm more of the classic guy. I really like it. What else? Let's see. Comedy-wise, Step Brothers. Man, I'm going to go all over the place.
I'm a Star Wars guy, too, so I hope you don't mind. I'm going to stay on the Star Wars here a little bit. Who you got a top 1, 2, 3 Star Wars characters?
1, 2, 3. Oh, man. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Man, Yoda. Heck, even you can do a young teenager Anakin before he turned. That was,
Episode 2 Anakin?
Yeah, that was a great one. So I'll go with those 3.
Growing up in Sacramento, Elk Grove High, you said you came to this ballpark a lot, so I take you grew up a Giants fan?
Not really. I actually grew up down in Southern California, so my dad was always, it kind of rubbed off from my grandma, big Dodger fan.
We won't hold that against you.
It's all right. I don't know, just coming up here and being in, you would say, enemy territory, just still coming to baseball games and whatnot. Didn't care if the Dodgers were here or not, just to see. My dad wanted to expose me to baseball and just to dream about it and just wishful thinking as a kid and just to have a goal in baseball. So came to a lot of these games, probably a couple dozen, and enjoyed every minute of it.
Who was your favorite player growing up?
Oh, man. Probably across the board. Nomar, Garciaparra, David Wright, Scott Rowland, loved Griffey, like Jeter.
Would you ever try to base your style of play off any of those guys, or who was a batting stance you'd love to imitate when you were growing up?
Batting stance, I really liked Gary Sheffield. I liked the way he waggled his bat and just dropped head on it. That was really cool. I don't think that ever worked for me in the long term. He had some strong wrists and strong hands. I don't think I can do that, but that's pretty much the most part. JD Davis joining us here on the Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys podcast. Now, you mentioned you like to watch the NBA playoffs. Are you a Kings fan, Warrior fan? Are you from Southern California, a Laker fan? Who's your basketball team? Well, Kings first, no matter what, and then, rub off on go to the Warriors as well. Sacramento kid. I'm hoping they would get back into there, but it's been a while. It's been,
16 years, I think?
Like that. I was about to say 15.
Old enough to drive?
Yeah. Yeah, so...
Have they invited you up to light the beam at all, you and Logan? Because I know he's also a Kings fan.
No, not at all. Not at all. I've probably been to the new stadium, or not the new stadium, the new arena over there probably 3 or 4 times, and it's beautiful. I used to go to the Arco Arena to watch them, but haven't been that much compared to the old one.
Are you hoping that they give an extension to Domantas Sabonis?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he runs the offense, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do, and just I think the whole assistant to the Warriors going over there and kind of changing things up with the new scheme. I think it's great for the Kings.
A couple more here before we get you out of here. What's the best advice that another player has ever given you that you can kind of share with us?
This sounds pretty cliche, but don't get down. Stay even keeled. Don't get so far down. Don't get so far up. Use the whole field. If you can hit the ball over second base and in that 3-4 hole every once in a while, you're going to stay in this game as long as you can. You're going to be a 270, 280 hitter, and that's going to keep you around. Oh man, there's tons of advice that I've heard. Be a great teammate. on and off the field, even when you're doing good, even when you're doing bad. Guys see that, and energy in the clubhouse and on the field is very infectious to the team.
Talking to JD Davis here on the Garlic Fries Baseball Guys podcast. Last one before we get you out of here. I've noticed a lot of teams are doing home run props to celebrate home runs. Any plans for you guys in the clubhouse here to adopt something like that?
Probably not, honestly. Not at all.
Just not the style?
Just,
you guys hit enough of them, I mean.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't think we even have anything, and we never really thought about anything. And, I think our big prop is more so winning games and turning the clubhouse into a club. I think we enjoy that more than just,
I know I said last one, when did the nightclub thing start up after wins?
Oh, man. So I was traded over here in August, and they were kind of doing it, and there were, I would say, less lights and less fog machines now, or less fog machines back in the day than I guess now. So we've definitely taken it to a whole nother level. That's probably a question maybe you got for Craw, because Craw is probably the head.
The guy behind that?
Yeah.
Well, JD, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate your time. A lot of great stuff here, and hopefully we can do it again sometime. And best of luck tonight and with the rest of your season.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.